Ever feel like modern life is one giant pop quiz you didn't study for? Like, nobody gave you the syllabus.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the source material you sent in might convince you that's not too far off. Today we're doing a deep dive into a series of articles called The Afterlife Among Us.
Okay.
And let me tell you, they make a pretty compelling case for the idea that we're already living in the afterlife. Just not the
Right.
harps and angels kind of.
Yeah, it's definitely a thought-provoking concept. Instead of fire and brimstone, these articles suggest we're being tested and punished through psychological pain.
Okay, I know that sounds a little wild, but hear me out. The first article contrasts physical pain with mental anguish. You burn your hand on a stove, you yank it back.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
Right. But psychological pain, it's not so straightforward. Like,
Exactly. Think about how anxiety about the future, something most of us can relate to,
oh yeah.
doesn't just disappear once you achieve a goal.
Right.
Landing that dream job just leads to new worries about keeping it or
Right.
getting a promotion or...
Right, we're losing it. Exactly. That constant what-if cycle is what the article calls the compound interest of pain.
It's like solving one problem just creates like five more, right?
Yeah.
I've definitely been there. And this is where the article's theory about modern life as a kind of afterlife gets really interesting. It argues that mental suffering is the ultimate equal opportunity tormentor.
Yeah, it's a fascinating parallel to the traditional concept of hell.
Right.
Physical punishment, at least theoretically, could be escaped by those with enough power or resources.
I guess so, yeah.
But mental anguish. The article argues that even a billionaire can't buy their way out of loneliness or guilt.
That actually makes a lot of sense. The article goes on to say that this mental pain isn't static. It actually compounds over time, almost like an insidious investment that keeps growing.
This is getting dark.
Yeah, it's a really insightful way to look at it, though.
Right.
Think about how a cringe-worthy memory from childhood can still make you shudder, even though it happened years ago and had no real lasting consequences. Like,
Absolutely. Our past experiences and anxieties about the future just keep adding layers to our suffering.
tell me about it. I still have this vivid memory of completely messing up a piano recital when I was 10. Like, it makes me want to crawl under a rock every time I think about it, even decades later.
Right.
That's going to be proof of this compound and pain theory, right?
It definitely illustrates the point. And then the article introduces another layer of complexity to this whole modern afterlife idea. Awareness. It argues that the more conscious and intelligent we are, the more susceptible we become to this kind of mental anguish.
So it's almost like a cosmic catch-22. Intelligence helps us navigate the world, but it also opens us up to a wider range of anxieties and existential questions.
Exactly. The more we understand, the more we realize how much we don't know.
Right.
And that can be a pretty unsettling feeling, especially if you're wired to overthink things, which I suspect you might be.
Oh, you have no idea. It's a blessing and a curse. But back to the article, it suggests that if this is some kind of cosmic test, mental suffering is a far more sophisticated challenge than, say, fire and brimstone.
That's a key point. Fire and brimstone tests your physical endurance.
Okay.
But the article argues that mental suffering challenges our wisdom, our resilience, our character. It forces us to confront really difficult questions about meaning, purpose, how to navigate a world full of uncertainty.
Right.
It's definitely a more nuanced kind of test.
And then there's this added pressure of learning from our pain that the article talks about. Not only do we have to endure it, but we're expected to somehow transform it into something positive. It's a lot of pressure.
It is, and that pressure itself can become another source of suffering.
Man.
Are we learning the right lessons? Are we growing fast enough? Are we doing enough to help others?
Right.
It has a whole other layer of complexity and self-doubt.
So we're stuck in this system of mental challenges with this added pressure to figure out what we're supposed to be learning.
Yeah.
All without any clear timeline or sense of progress. It's enough to make you wonder if we're all just making it up as we go along.
The article describes this as the eternal now of mental suffering. Unlike traditional concepts of hell, where punishments are tied to specific sins and have a set duration, modern suffering, according to this theory, operates in a perpetual present. No past sins, no timeline for redemption.
Right.
Just this constant cycle of challenges and anxieties.
It's like we're in a game where no one bothered to explain the rules. But I have to ask, if this is some elaborate afterlife test, what's the point? What are we being tested on?
That's a great question, and the article offers a few intriguing possibilities. Want to dive into those?
Absolutely. Let's unpack what the article has to say about the potential purpose behind this test.
Welcome back. Before we dig into the potential why behind this whole modern afterlife concept, I wanted to touch on something you said earlier about awareness being a kind of double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's definitely a theme that stuck with me from those Afterlife Among Us articles. It's like
Mhm.
our ability to think and analyze and just be aware of our own existence
Right.
makes us more susceptible to mental anguish.
Hmm.
Like if this is a test, you'd think ignorance would be bliss, right?
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it?
Hmm.
And it gets to the heart of what makes this theory so compelling. The article suggests that this vulnerability to mental suffering might be an inherent part of being human, of being a self-aware being in a complex world.
Which makes me wonder, what exactly are we being tested on? Is it our endurance, our compassion, our ability to learn from difficult experiences?
Those are great questions, and I think the articles offer some clues. One recurring theme is this idea of moral complexity. Modern life throws constant ethical dilemmas at us, forcing us to make choices that often have unintended consequences.
It's true. It feels like there's rarely a clear-cut right answer anymore. We're constantly weighing different values, trying to figure out the best course of action, knowing that whatever we choose, someone or something might be negatively impacted. It's exhausting.
And I think that feeling of exhaustion, that constant wrestling with difficult choices, might be part of the test itself.
Okay.
The article suggests that navigating this moral complexity, making difficult choices with incomplete information, and knowing that the outcome might not be perfect, could be a crucial part of this cosmic challenge.
So it's not just about following rules or avoiding punishment like in the traditional concept of hell,
Right.
but about developing our moral compass,
Hmm.
learning to discern between right and wrong in a world where the lines are increasingly blurred.
Exactly. And the articles don't stop there. They also emphasize the importance of intention. It's not enough to simply act in a way that avoids negative consequences. We're being challenged to act from a place of genuine compassion, understanding, and a desire to contribute to the well-being of others.
So it's about the why behind our actions, not just the what.
Hmm.
It's about cultivating a deeper sense of ethics and understanding that our actions are interconnected with everyone and everything around us.
You're picking up on the key points here. And it makes you wonder, does the constant barrage of information and stimulation we experience in modern life actually make it harder to connect with those deeper values and make choices that are aligned with our true selves?
Right. We're pulled in a million different directions by social media, the news, work demands, family obligations. Like,
Yeah.
it's easy to get caught up in the superficial and lose sight of what really matters.
And yet the articles suggest that finding a way to navigate this chaos, to stay grounded in our values and make choices that reflect our understanding of right and wrong, is a crucial part of the challenge we're facing. It's like we're being asked to develop a new kind of moral muscle, a resilience that allows us to stay true to ourselves even amidst the noise and distractions of modern life.
Okay, so all of that makes sense in the context of this test idea. But the articles also talk about the role of joy, which seems a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah.
If we're being tested through suffering,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't it make sense to just grit our teeth and endure it?
That's where it gets really interesting. The article suggests that experiencing moments of joy, connection, and beauty isn't incidental to this cosmic test. It's actually essential. Think about it. If you were designing a system to help souls evolve, wouldn't you include opportunities for genuine happiness and fulfillment?
I guess that makes sense. So we're not just supposed to endure suffering, but also cultivate gratitude, appreciate the good things, and experience moments of genuine connection.
Exactly. And the article suggests that this capacity for joy, for finding meaning and beauty even in difficult circumstances, is another key quality being tested.
It's like we're being asked to hold those two seemingly contradictory experiences, suffering and joy, in a kind of dynamic tension,
Hmm.
to acknowledge the pain and the challenges, but also find moments of light, connection, and hope. It's a tricky balance.
It is, and the article suggests that it's through this dance between suffering and joy
Yeah.
that we truly learn and grow. It's not about denying the darkness, but about finding a way to let the light in,
Right.
to cultivate resilience and hope, even in the face of adversity.
I have to admit that's a much more hopeful perspective than simply viewing modern life as an endless cycle of punishment. But I'm still curious to hear more about what the articles have to say about the ultimate purpose of this whole test. Any theories?
There are a few, and I think you'll find them quite thought-provoking. Ready to dive in?
All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the afterlife among us. And if you've been with us so far, you know we've been wrestling with some pretty heavy ideas about modern life as a kind of cosmic test designed to challenge us through mental and emotional suffering. But the big question that's been hanging in the air this whole time is why? Like, what's the point of all this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And in this final installment, the articles start to offer some potential answers,
Okay.
though not in a way you might expect.
Ooh, how so?
Well, instead of giving one definitive answer, they offer a few different perspectives and encourage us to come to our own conclusions. It's less about dogma and more about exploring possibilities.
Okay, I like that. I'm all for a little intellectual freedom, especially when we're dealing with big existential questions like this.
Right.
So what are some of the possibilities they put forward?
One of the most compelling ideas is that this test, if you want to call it that, is ultimately about cultivating empathy and compassion.
Okay.
The article suggests that by going through the full spectrum of human emotions, including pain, loss, disappointment, we gain a deeper understanding of what it means to be human, to be vulnerable.
Struggle.
It's like that saying, you can't really understand someone until you've walked a mile in their shoes. Maybe by experiencing our own suffering,
Right.
we become more sensitive to the suffering of others. Exactly. And the articles propose that this heightened sense of empathy could be one of the key outcomes of this whole cosmic experience. It's about shifting away from our own egocentric concerns and developing a genuine care for the well-being of all beings.
So it's not just about enduring pain, but using our experience to connect with others, offer support, and build a more compassionate world. It's about finding meaning in the struggle.
That's one way to look at it. Another perspective the articles offer is that this test is about developing our capacity for love.
Okay.
Not just romantic love, but a more expansive, unconditional love that encompasses all beings.
Okay, now this is getting really interesting. How do they tie that back to the idea of mental suffering?
They suggest that by confronting our own fears, insecurities, and limitations, we learn to accept ourselves more fully,
Okay.
flaws and all.
Right.
And this radical self-love becomes the foundation for a more expansive love that extends outward to others.
So by learning to love ourselves, even the messy, imperfect parts, we become more capable of loving others without judgment.
Precisely. And the articles propose that this capacity for unconditional love might be the ultimate goal of this cosmic journey,
Okay.
the ultimate lesson we're meant to learn.
It's a beautiful idea, but also incredibly challenging. It's like we're being asked to alchemize our pain into love, to use our own struggles as fuel for a more compassionate and loving existence. It's a tricky balance.
It's definitely not an easy path, but the articles don't shy away from that. And this brings us to another key theme that emerges in this final installment, the importance of transcendence.
Oh, tell me more about that.
They suggest that while this test may play out in the realm of human experience, the ultimate goal is to move beyond the limitations of our ego-driven perceptions and glimpse something larger than ourselves.
So it's not just about becoming better people within the context of our human lives, but about connecting to something more profound, something that goes beyond our individual experiences.
Exactly. The articles point to various spiritual traditions that emphasize this idea of transcendence, of moving beyond the illusion of separation and experiencing a sense of oneness with all of creation. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected, that our individual journeys are part of a much larger and more mysterious tapestry.
And are the articles saying that the challenges we face, the suffering we endure, could actually be catalysts for this transcendence?
That's the idea, that by confronting our limitations, our fears, our deepest pain, we're pushed to seek something beyond the confines of our ego-driven perceptions.
Okay.
It's not about escaping suffering, but about using it as a stepping stone to something greater, something more profound.
It sounds like they're ultimately offering a message of hope, that even within this modern hell, amidst the challenges and suffering, there's still a possibility for growth, for transformation, for a deeper connection to ourselves, to others, and to the mystery of existence itself.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even if we don't have all the answers, even if we don't fully understand the purpose of this test, we can still approach it with a sense of curiosity, courage, and willingness to embrace the unknown.
Well, this deep dive has certainly given me a lot to ponder. I guess if modern life is some kind of test, the only thing we can do is keep showing up, keep learning, and keep trying to become the best versions of ourselves.
I couldn't agree more. And maybe, just maybe, we'll discover that the true rewards of this cosmic journey lie not in achieving some predetermined goal, but in the journey itself. and the ongoing process of growth, connection, and the unfolding of our own unique potential.
That's a beautiful thought to end on. Thanks for joining me on this incredibly thought-provoking deep dive. And to all of you listening out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking those moments of joy, connection, and meaning, even amidst the chaos of modern existence. Until next time, stay curious.